Hello, hello, and welcome to the Tip of the Iceberg podcast, brought to you as always by InsideThePenguins.com. I'm your host, Nick Berlansky, joined as always by Nick Horwat. We have an interesting show for you guys today because not very much Penguins news happens in August. So we have to dig to the bottom of the barrel. We have to get creative on what we want to talk about for the next 45 minutes. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to the 90s because who doesn't love the 90s era of the Pittsburgh Penguins? And what we're going to do is a snake draft to see who can draft the best starting lineup with all 90s players, but with the caveat that we're taking out Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. So that's coming up later in the show. But where we want to start is with the small bit of Penguins news that we have gotten over the past week. David Morehouse, the former Penguins president and CEO, has joined the Pittsburgh Steelers as senior advisor to President Art Rooney. Horwat, you had the story for InsideThePenguins.com. What can you tell us about this, and what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's very interesting that his new job, A, didn't take long to find, or B, he didn't have to go far. Just a quick hop across the river.
He could take the T.
Yeah, he could. I was trying to think if that's what was shut down right now, but no, it is not. Sorry. I was going to call it the Port Authority. It is the artist formerly known as the Port Authority, Pittsburgh Regional Transit now. Yeah, you can take your Pittsburgh Regional Transit T across under the river and show up at Heinz Field for his new job. Nothing much new, though. It's assistant to the vice president. Assistant to the
regional manager.
Yes, and also I don't even think it's a vice president. Senior advisor to the president, who he's working with Art Rooney II. We had to talk about the lineage here because I know there's Art II, Dan and Art Jr. So there's like 4 Rooneys.
There's a lot of Rooneys.
Yeah. That being said, though, he's gonna work with Mario and now work with Art Rooney II, then the Rooney family. He's excited about it. Not exactly sure what it entails in the job, but it will be focusing on community and league related initiatives. I think just a lot of the same of what he was doing with the Penguins, but now in the Steelers capacity. And honestly, at first I was a little surprised because it's always interesting hearing a name like that jump from one team to another, really. But also, I figured he was retired and done with. I really did.
I mean, to be fair, if you're a senior advisor in a position like that, you're not doing too much. Like, you don't hold a position that is day to day, and neither does the president, Art Rooney II. If you're senior advisor, basically what David Morehouse is now is basically a talking head that comes in for a meeting couple days a week, maybe, but mostly just to be golfing buddies with Art Rooney, because that's what these guys were beforehand. They've been friends for a long time, obviously, with Morehouse having plenty of years of experience with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and also Morehouse knowing the market, because with the Pittsburgh Penguins, he led community initiatives. He knew how to be part of the community, and he's a Pittsburgh guy. So basically just saying, hey, here's a position. You come in when we need you to, and just to give your advice, to give your opinion. And that's all that basically David Morehouse is going to be doing for the Steelers. But, I mean, good for him. He found another paycheck quickly after getting paid for a long time with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not that I think the Morehouses are struggling for cash, but nonetheless, nice to see him continuing on in the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's had a long history of doing things, and this should work out for him nicely. At the age of 62, he's adding another great sports institution under his belt, so, good on him.
Speaking of sports institutions, and before we get into the 90s snake draft, which I'm very excited for, Horwat, I know when I texted you about it, I said, all right, well, I'm competitive, so I'm going to obviously post this out on social media at Ice-Burgh Podcast on Twitter, at Tip of the Ice-Burgh Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see which one of us is able to draft the better team. Usually I feel like you get the better of me when it comes to fan reaction of our drafts and stuff like that. The one that comes to mind is the All-American Penguins draft that we did a couple years ago for the 4th of July. But like I said, when it comes to institutions, I wanted to ask you before we got into it, game day traditions, because I was listening to a couple different things, and they were talking about, oh, do you like the wave? Do you like this? Do you like that? So Horwat, what are some of your favorite game day traditions for Pittsburgh Penguins games?
Everyone always tweeting about Sidney Crosby's traditions. I think that's always a good one. Every time you go to a game, everyone's always focused on him during warm-ups. Other traditions. See, I don't think of any because I don't follow in that many. Unless it's like me particularly playing. I don't get super into that sort of thing. So, not a pass ring, but like I said, it's always everyone following Crosby around. It's everyone always noticing that Malkin goes out last and then does that pass to Stewart. Yes. He's the last one off the ice. He doesn't wait for other people though. He's just last off the ice for his team. I know some Panarin, I forget who else. Some people get real iffy about it, and that
Marchand.
That's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie, it's not cute anymore. Like every time that happens, every time there's like the rock paper scissors, the NHL blows up about him. Like it's great. I don't care because guess what? They're both about to have not great games. Like
imagine if the NHL actually let their players have personalities. If that's exciting to their admins. Imagine if they let their players have personalities, or honestly, just if their players had personalities. They just go through so much media training at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But what are some thoughts that you have? Because I'll try and come up with something.
I mean, personally, the one big one that comes to mind for me is going to Pizza Milano's across Fifth Avenue and going down there before the game. Usually, obviously, getting a pizza there, getting a couple beers, and then you can walk right over into that lower gate of PPG Paints Arena. But I think of that not only because when we go to games, I like to go to Milano's beforehand, probably one of my favorite pizzas in the city. But I also like to go during the big screen. I mean, I haven't been to a big screen in 4 or 5 years. But what I usually like to do is at the 10-minute mark of the first period, when it's the playoffs and you're sitting out at the big screen, you order the pizza for pickup. And that way it's usually done as soon as the first period ends. You walk right up, get your pizza, and you're back by puck drop of the second period. So that's one of my favorite traditions surrounding the Pittsburgh Penguins. I really like involving Pizza Milano's in my Penguins game day when I'm there.
Clearly. I usually don't have a pregame meal either. It's if the closest thing I can think of is a long time ago, me and my stepmom would always go to Cafe on Fifth. That's about it, and that's a great place. Actually, me and my boss were just talking about it yesterday. Ironically, that's always a solid place to go to. That's really it, other than maybe parking on Point Park's campus and walking.
Yeah, always at the Wood Allies garage.
Not even there in that little lot that is open
that you don't pay for.
Yeah, exactly. I genuinely cannot think of anything else. I mean, because I'm so very I go too often to set a tradition.
Well, you would think that that's where it ends up happening when you go that often, that you have the things that you do. I mean, parking is a perfect example. Everybody usually parks in the same place that they did the last time they went to the game.
If you see, then again, I don't. That's not always true, because for a long time we would use my stepmom's parking pass. Then she not lost it, but got rid of it during the pandemic, so we didn't use that lot anymore. There is the Wood Allies garage because it's $6 if I'm feeling like paying for $6, and then there's the free lot if I want to wait an extra couple minutes. So really, I'd say those are the biggest ones. I just don't have any because I don't know. I'm usually too busy during the day to set up a daily regiment.
You're always busy, man.
Not always busy. I'm leaving the second we're done here to do something.
Yeah.
I also, fair warning, haven't had my coffee yet. So if I'm all over the place, you know why.
Hey, that gives me an edge for the draft. That's all I care about.
Yeah, you're damn right it does.
But the other one that I have, really the big one that I pay attention to, I'm not always in a rush to get out of the arena because it takes forever and you're just standing in one place for such a long time. I usually wait for the Ferris Bueller Still Here video to play on the Jumbotron to even vacate my seats.
Damn, I have never seen that one.
You've never seen that? So you get up and leave right away.
Depends on the mood. I can tell you I sat, and I can tell you the game we lost in game 6, whichever that Louis Domingo was. Maybe, yeah.
Game 6, yeah.
Yeah, I sat there for a minute.
Clearly, I mean, they don't wait that long. Like, usually you're still waiting, but I just usually sit there, like to chill out. You know, I know everybody in the upper deck, that's where I usually like to sit. People in the upper deck like to get up and leave, and all of a sudden there's congestion around the escalators and the stairs and everything. I'll just sit there and wait. Basically, one of the last people out of the actual bowl, and then they play the Ferris Bueller. Hey, you're still here? Go home. And then I get up and I leave.
No, I don't think I've ever seen it. Maybe I've like seen it in passing before.
I also haven't been to a game in a couple years, so they might have. I don't know why they would, but they might have stopped doing it.
Maybe I haven't seen it in passing because normally in wins I'm a little more excited to go do other things, and then during losses I'm sitting there moping and they don't want to put it up after a loss either.
Yeah, that might be it. I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember usually every time I'm there that they play that, and I end up using that as my cue to vacate the area. But before we close out this segment, I did want to ask, what do you do afterwards? Is there anything specific that you like to do after a game?
It depends on what's going on. The Penguins play too many weekday games for me to be like, oh yeah, I go out afterwards. Or there's too many things, just too many factors that go into after game stuff because it depends on the day of the week, depends on the time of the game. If I'm seeing a matinee, I'm usually annoyed that the sun's still out. And then I don't know, maybe I'm going to get dinner. I'm usually just coming home.
Well, yeah, I know there's some people that go to the casino. I don't. I've been to a casino 4 times in my life. I've only gambled twice, and I lose every single time. Like I have never won a penny. Maybe I put a little bit in a slot machine and I won a little bit, but then I lost it right away.
I've gone to the casino 3 times. First time I hit beginner's luck, but it was with my dad's money.
Doesn't count.
He let me keep it though, so it's okay.
So you're a thief again. Second time in this episode.
Second time, I think I won a couple of dollars somewhere. I don't remember. Third time, I didn't gamble at all, and I watched our buddy Brandon just rake in the money at 21. Not 21. When you have to get the 21 in. What's it called?
You mean blackjack?
Blackjack. Yes, thank you. Coffee's a hell of a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with that, we should probably transition over to the snake draft because I have you right where I want you, where you're kind of out of it a little bit. I don't know how much prep that you did for this, but I think I did too much prep for this.
I did none, my guy.
So for what we're going to do, 1990s Pittsburgh Penguins snake draft, 6 rounds. We each draft a starting roster, left wing, right wing, center, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. No Mario Lemieux, no Jaromir Jagr, and how we're going to determine who gets the first pick. We're going to play a little rock, paper, scissors. You ready?
Oh, Jesus, Lord, no.
Just not best 2 out of 3, just 1. All right. Are you ready?
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yes, let's do this over video.
Yeah, that's not working. Yeah, this is awful. So you know what? Just you take the first pick. I really don't care. I really do not care at this point because that went horribly. So if you're watching it on Inside the Penguins on YouTube, you get to watch us botch rock, paper, scissors.
All right, what are the positions we're doing? It's just each of them?
A starting roster.
All right, yeah.
One of each 2 defensemen.
And a goalie?
And a goalie, yes.
All right, cool. My first pick's Tom Barrasso just because, hey, you know what? Name another Penguins goalie from the 90s.
I will.
That was my one plan into this, was get Tom Barrasso because who else is going to beat that in the Penguins lineage in the 90s?
I don't need somebody to go out there and win me the game, but I will obviously mention him later because I'm not using my first round pick on a goalie. I'm using my first round pick on Ron Francis, one of the best forwards in NHL history, Hockey Hall of Famer, current general manager of the Seattle Kraken. The dude was electric in the 1990s. And obviously, when you talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, strength down the middle is vastly important, always has been. And I think I'm going to start there. I'm starting with Ronnie Francis.
That's okay. That's fine by me because there's always still backups somewhere. Not even backups, really. I don't know why I called him a backup. There's always other names around, though, and I'm just going to go off the radar a little bit because you don't think about it.
Whoa. This is a
snake that's right. Snake draft. Sir. You go ahead.
Are you trying to steal my second-round pick?
Let me write down that it's a snake so I don't forget that.
Hey, yeah, you trying to cheat over here. You're a thief twice early in this show. Now you're cheating. I don't know about it, Horwat. You're making me nervous. But I'm also going to go with another Hockey Hall of Famer for my second-round pick. And you know what's better than strength down the middle is a scoring defenseman. So I'm going to take the Hall of Famer. I'm going Paul Coffey as my second-round pick.
That's also all right.
Yeah, so I got Francis and Coffey. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Francis and Coffey, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean,
now you have 2 picks.
The fun thing about how stacked these Penguins 90s teams were.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Francis and Coffee, cool. I can double that up with two equally good, especially at the time for one of these players. Stevens and Murphy. Same position, not same positions, but forward, defense. You know, you shoot out a Ron Francis. Sure, I missed out on the Ron Francis, but again, I'm stopping pucks.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Kevin Stevens, who, I mean, come on, put up all those numbers, was the freight train for Mario Lemieux to let him do his thing. And then Larry Murphy to cover just as many points, you know, if not a few more here and there. No, Paul Coffey's numbers were ridiculous, but Larry Murphy to cover quite as many, almost as many points as Paul Coffey on the blue, on the blue line.
Yeah, and once Paul Coffey left the Pittsburgh Penguins, it was Larry Murphy's blue line to command, especially in the scoring aspect, because I know Coffey left the Penguins in
early
1992. Yeah, in 1992, and then Larry Murphy for the next 4 or 5 years was the leading scorer on the Pittsburgh Penguins defense. So I don't hate that. Listen, I had both of these guys circled as well. If you would have taken Coffey, Murphy would have been my first defenseman. So now I have 2 more picks. Actually, what we're going to do is I'm going to make 1 pick, and then we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and finish this off. But when I look at this now, I have a center, I have a defenseman, but you have Stevens, Murphy, and Barrasso. Let me tell you, Horwat, I was not expecting you to go goalie first overall. Mm-hmm. That is something that purely shocked me. But I already know you can't choose another left wing, so I'm going to leave that on the board. I'm going to go to right wing because neither of us have chosen a right wing yet, and I'm between 2 players right now. One guy's a Hockey Hall of Famer. The other guy kind of fits the mood and the tempo that I kind of wanted. But you know what? I think I have to do it. I'm going to go with Mark Recchi, the Wrecking Ball.
Like that.
He has that winning pedigree. He won with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He won with the Carolina Hurricanes. He won with the Boston Bruins. He is now an assistant coach, I believe still, with the New Jersey Devils, albeit not having the greatest coaching career of all time, but he is one of the greatest players of all time. He's consistent. He knows how to put up goals. He's played with both Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. So you know what? He's going to be playing with Ronnie Francis and Paul Coffey in my lineup. I'm taking Mr. Mark Recchi with my 3rd pick.
It's a great choice, too. It's one name that I was looking at, but I've also been kind of glancing into longevity into the 90s as much as I can here. But, I mean, there's no going wrong with Mark Recchi. As a winner, wins everywhere he goes, and is able to flaunt that winning. It's really fun for him.
And in this hypothetical matchup, I need him to win one more time. I don't know. Would this be best of 7? Probably, because that's how hockey things go. But nonetheless, we have half of our rosters drafted. Horwat, I think that was the biggest surprise, is you taking Tom Barrasso with the 1-1 pick. I did not expect a goalie to go first overall, but hey, Penguins did that back in 2003 with Marc-Andre Fleury, so why not you do it in 2022 with Tom Barrasso? So we have Barrasso, Francis, Coffey, Stevens, Murphy, and Recchi all selected. Who will we pick in the second half, rounds 4 through 6 of our 1990s Pittsburgh Penguins snake draft? We'll be back right after a quick break to conclude this draft process. If you haven't heard already, it's Smooth Sack Summer. When you're done playing in the summer sun, make sure you're scaped from pubes to bum. That's right, this is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leader in below-the-belt grooming is making sure we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into Smooth Sack Summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with our code ALLSTEELERS. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawn Mower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker, a ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Wearing sandals with some nasty toenails during the summer months is not a great look. So take a look at the Shears 2.0, a luxury nail grooming kit. This kit includes stainless steel nail cutters, tweezers, and grooming scissors. With the Performance Package, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with code ALLSTEELERS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code ALLSTEELERS at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Welcome back to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast, brought to you as always by InsideThePenguins.com. We're in the middle of our 1990s Pittsburgh Penguins snake draft. Of course, the big caveat, no Mario Lemieux, no Jaromir Jagr, because that just changes everything, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
I mean,
changes quite a few things.
Especially, I know they're both two of the best players of all time, but whoever has Mario Lemieux is going to win, right? Like, that's how I'm taking it. Like, nothing against Jaromir Jagr. He's obviously has the, second most points in NHL history, and he's one of the greatest players in the history of the game. But I look at Mario Lemieux as the best player, and I would never take anybody else than him in a best-of-7 series if you're going best on best at their peak.
Absolutely. Totally right. There's no denying the stuff that Lemieux could do. I think, man, you give a fully healthy Lemieux for that many years, it's questionable. It's always questionable. That's one of the big arguments in the sport is who really was better, Lemieux or Gretzky. I think there's an argument for both, especially given just the health issues that Lemieux had.
Yeah, definitely. And here's the thing. You can be lazy and say, oh, well, the points and all the stats say Wayne Gretzky by a mile, but let's make it a little bit more difficult and actually look into it some, shall we? Like that. I hate when people do that. And it's like, you really are just kind of ruining your own argument by not saying anything like that. So
yeah,
with that, I think we don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. Let's continue our 1990s snake draft with round 4. I get the lead off in round 4. And when I'm looking at it, I have a defense position left, a left wing, and my goalie, which you can't choose another left wing or goalie. So I'm going to go with defense because that's where the most possibilities are. And I'm stuck between two different styles of play, Horwat. Do I want a scoring Hall of Famer, or do I want to bring a little bit of grit, a little bit of determination, somebody to try to keep Kevin Stevens out of my goaltender's face? And I know that sometimes is an impossible task, but you know what I'm going to do? I think there's enough offense between Francis and Recchi and Paul Coffey.
Coffey of all people, yeah.
So I'm going to go with a defenseman that brings a little bit of grit, that brings a little bit of character. And I could go with Ulfie Samuelsson because he's one of the most grit character defensemen that we've had, especially in the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. But you know what? I'm going with a fan favorite. You know, I'm trying to cater to the fan vote here a little bit. I'm going to bring in Darius Kasparaitis, Horwat. I mean, not only is he a very talented defenseman, nobody's going to mistake him for a Hall of Famer. That's for sure. But he has the clutch gene, Horwat. And if we get to a Game 7 in this hypothetical series that we're playing, which of these players has a Game 7 overtime winner in the playoffs? I know it wasn't in the 90s, but in 2001, Darius Kasparaitis against the Buffalo Sabres in overtime ended it and giving the Penguins the win and helping them advance in the playoffs. So I'm going to take Darius Kasparaitis with my 4th round pick.
That's just a genuinely fun pick. I can't be mad at that. Although I'm shocked you didn't go with Ulf, who is my second name for defense here, if you want to just jot that in then. Because I wanted someone who can really, you're right, bring the sandpaper aspect to their game on the blue line, especially because, I mean, you picked up Paul Coffey, who is basically a forward in his own right, especially in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
So picking up another offensive defenseman may not have been the smartest, wisest move. But then me picking up Larry Murphy, figuring, well, we got my one scoring defenseman, bring in the sandpaper, bring in the tough as nails guy. Why not let it be the guy who is not allowed to enter the city of Boston in Ulf Samuelsson?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, again, yours is a great pick. Darius Kasparaitis is also a fan pick as well. Ulfie is a fan pick as well, just from the older generation. Because, again, he's not allowed in the city of Boston.
Yeah. Which generation is more on social media, though? Because that's who will, in general, determine
who
who has
what?
the better roster.
Depends on the social media. Depends on the replies.
Yeah,
I'd say they're both on.
You might get the Facebook vote. I think I'll lean towards the Twitter vote in this one. But you have your 5th round pick, Mr. Horwat.
Yeah, and then I do still need a right winger in this situation, and it's not off the board, but Joey Mullen's one of the greatest American-born
Mm.
players,
He
and
was he was on my draft board.
yeah, but he's still out there, and I gotta take him just because underratedly good and incredible for this Penguins franchise during his two stints. Yes, two stints. Later half of his career, but still putting up during his first, what is that? 5 years here. Yeah, 5 years, 303 points in 325 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal stuff. Oh, just barely over point per game for a career. 1,062 games, 1,063 points.
Hey,
That, my friend, is consistency. Yeah, one of the greatest American-born players to ever do it. One of the first American-born greats too. So I gotta give Joey Mullen my right wing here, leaving me with a center to pick. But you can finish off. You only have one
yep.
left.
I have 2 picks left, and then
Two
you
picks.
close out the draft. So when I look at my last 2 picks, clearly, I don't really have to worry about who you're going to take in this situation. But I do, in fact, need somebody to play on the left side of a line with Ron Francis and Mark Recchi. And who better to do that than Pittsburgh Penguins legend? I'm bringing in, he has a statue. Luc Robitaille is my left winger. He only played in 1 year with the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was the 1994-95 season. But in 46 games played, he put up 42 points. So almost a point a game. His best work has always been with the LA Kings. Let's not forget about that fact that he's usually had his best seasons with the Kings. Even when he went back for his second stint, it was a little bit better than he played in Pittsburgh and New York, and definitely better than he played in Detroit late in his career.
What about his third stint in LA?
Or his third stint in LA was not as great. I mean,
Yeah.
51 points in 80 games in 2003, 2004, and then
Solid.
24 and 65 in 05, 06 after the lockout. So, listen, I think that with the right team, which he's going to be with the right team here, he's going to be able to thrive in a Pittsburgh Penguins uniform. I mean, he was almost a point a game in the 90s. So I think with guys like Ron Francis in a best of 7, with a guy like Mark Recchi in a best of 7, and also playing with Paul Coffey constantly, I think that's going to be great for Robitaille. So he's my left winger.
That's a great choice. Robitaille may have played one season, but he got shafted a little bit because he played the shortened season here.
That's true.
So people really forget that he played here because it was the shortened 94-95, right? That one.
Yes.
Season that he was also overshadowed by Yager that whole year, who crushed it.
Well, it's that's why Yager's not involved in this. It's not hard to be overshadowed by a guy like Jaromir Jagr, especially in the 90s when he was winning scoring titles and MVPs left and right. So that closes out all of my forwards. That closes out all my skaters. But, I do still need a goaltender, which is how you started this entire thing off. Let me pull up his numbers here just so I can reference them. Speaking of hockey reference. But my goaltender is going to be Kenny Reggett. And I know he's not Tom Barrasso. I do. But you know what? Kenny Reggett's not an awful goaltender.
No.
He is a career .885, which is not pretty.
The 90s.
But you know what you need? And you need the guy to win 4 games for you. And playing behind a team like this, I have confidence that Ken Reggett will be able to do just enough to get me the victory. I know you very much emphasized goaltending in your decision to take Tom Barrasso first overall, but my last pick to close out my team is going to be Kenny Reggett.
I like it. I mean, if
I didn't
you
really have an option.
Yeah, like I said, why I picked Barrasso was name another Penguins goalie.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the first one that comes to mind. But then after that, who really is it? You're really gonna pick was Patrick Lalime in the 90s? I think he was. That'd be an interesting choice.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's just there's a lot of air of uncertainty here. Wendell Young, maybe, but it's always been Tom Barrasso, Ken Reggett. So it's a great choice. You can't go wrong with it. It is pretty much just the Tristan Jarry, Casey DeSmith situation where it's the clear starter and the clear backup.
And listen, you know what we said? If Casey DeSmith played that whole series against the Rangers, would the Penguins have won? Probably.
Yeah, there it is. Patrick Lalime in 1996-97, if you wanted him for those couples. I think he was here for 2 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't terrible. I mean, 913 in his rookie season, playing with Ken Reggett and Tom Barrasso, who was thoroughly injured that year. That's the other thing about Tom Barrasso through the 90s, though, is you got to find the right Tom Barrasso.
Yeah, you got to find 1991. Well, not early playoffs 1991, late playoffs 1991, and then 92 and 93.
Yep. All right, and to close it off, I got to pick someone. I'm going to pick someone fun because you clearly have me beaten center. Clearly, Ron Francis. It's the centers through the 90s go Lemieux, Francis, and then who really? It's a bunch of inconsistency. It's a bunch of Trottier is there, but if you really look at his stats here, he didn't play here those entire seasons.
He finished his career in Pittsburgh. He's a New York Islander great. He's a Pittsburgh Penguins champion. That's what he is.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the pedigree, I did think about it, but I decided to go with just a very, very fun choice. I went Martin Straka.
Marty Straka, all right.
For 2 stints in the 90s with the Penguins, shockingly, actually, because he played, 42 games during their President's Trophy winning season. He played 42 games, only put up 16 points, but you know what? He was there in 92, 93. He knows what it takes to win. He was there the following year for the full 84 games, putting up 64 points. Absolutely respectable before getting traded midseason the next year. But then coming back in 97, 98, and then finishing off into the 2000s. I mean, he played here pretty much up until the lockout. But in 560 career games in Pittsburgh, 442 points. You know what? That's very respectable, especially for, let's just be blunt here, some very bad Penguins teams through the 2000s. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about here, but 2 separate stints in the 90s. Part of a very, very good winning team in 92, 93. Obviously, won the President's Trophy. And then, 97, 98 was a pretty decent year for the Penguins. 98, 99. They closed out pretty decent, I'd say. Just not the best. But Straka was a big part of it.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go with a guy like Peter Nedved, to be completely honest. I know I had Nedved on my draft board as well, so I was thinking that that's the direction you're going. But Straka's in line with what I expect from you, though, to be completely honest. Like, you're always somebody that likes to bring up Straka when talking about the 90s. Yeah, so I'm not surprised at all. But I do have to say, I think I have you beat in the center position. But Straka can hold his own, that's for sure.
If you need some numbers here, in 98, 99, to close out the 90s, Jaromir Jagr led the team in scoring with 127 points. Martin Straka finished second with 83.
Hey,
that's in 80 games. That's over a point per game.
Yeah, and that's starting to get towards the dead puck era.
Yes. Yeah. If not like the very beginning of it. Yeah. 127 points for Jagr that year is disgusting.
So that concludes the snake draft, and we will put up our rosters online. I want you to go over, if you have a minute, vote who has the better team, whose team would win in a best-of-7 series, Team Horwat or Team Berlansky. We can call it, Team early 90s versus Team RoboPen. Maybe do something like that. But here are the final rosters. Horwat, your team is Tom Barrasso in net, Kevin Stevens, Larry Murphy, Ulf Samuelsson, Joey Mullen, and Martin Straka. That is Team Horwat. And we'll save the team names for a little later. We got to actually figure that out. Should have thought about that before, but oh well. My team is Ronnie Francis, Paul Coffey, Mark Recchi, Darius Kasparaitis, Luke Robitaille, and Ken Reggett. Not going to lie, I'm feeling pretty confident going into this one.
I'd say they're actually fairly even because, again, you got me in center, but I definitely got you in net. The defense could be pretty even, really.
It could be. Yeah, I think you obviously have somebody that's a little bit more rough and tumble than Ulfie Samuelsson, but I think Darius Kasparaitis' underlying numbers say that he's going to be a pretty good offensive threat with Paul Coffey.
Yeah,
even though there weren't underlying numbers back then.
I think toward the very end of his career, there may have been a small peak of it.
Maybe. But no, nonetheless, I think it's going to be a pretty even competition. We'll have to see who the listeners and who the followers think has the better team. We'll report back on Monday on that episode, Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast. But it is a Thursday episode. It is almost 2 years to the day that we started this segment idea. So let's finish this episode as we always finish off our Thursday episodes with shout outs and call outs. Horwat, who are you shouting out this week?
This one should be an easy one. We have to shout out the life and legacy of Vince Scully, who passed away at the age of 94, the ripe old age of 94, yesterday. Man, if you didn't go through all of Wednesday just listening to Vince Scully talk, what did you do with your day?
Yeah.
The man was the voice in literally every sport. I mean, baseball, obviously, did some football for a little bit. He announced Porsche, not announced, but he introduced the Stadium Series game at Dodger Stadium, which I have not found. Not many people talked about it, but he did a little hockey voiceover, and then he did golf. Did anyone else see those golf clips? Those were incredible. The man stuck in what was literally a crater with the ladder. Like if you need a ladder to get in your bunker, just throw it out. Take the strokes penalties and throw it out. But listening to Vince Scully try and announce this man try and get out of the bunker was incredible. There is no Vince Scully could do no wrong. There was just so many clips going around yesterday of him remaining calm under A, pressure, under B, just hysteria on the baseball field because Dodgers weren't the greatest for a minute. Yeah. And he had to talk his way through all of it. And he did so phenomenally.
The one that I saw that I really enjoyed and watched probably 3 or 4 times is whenever he was talking about Johnny Gomes and the attack of the bear on Johnny Gomes when he was a child. And still, I mean, he was such a professional. He was doing that, and then he'd pop in within the 2-0 pitch. It's a ball, 3-0. And just the way that he was able to just carry you throughout games. And I know we were not fortunate enough to have him call games for the Pittsburgh Pirates growing up, so it took a little bit longer for us to realize, Vin Scully, watch some of his games and stuff like that. But if you did watch Wednesday, they were all over the place, and he is one of the most iconic voices in sports history. And if you're making a Mount Rushmore of announcers for sports, yes, he's probably the first name that comes up. If not, he's clearly on that list, and he might be on the Mount Rushmore of TV announcers, period, and voices, period, in U.S. history. So I really, saw that, and I was surprised. I was taken aback, but obviously, rest in peace to one of the legends of announcing, of speaking, basically, and specifically of course announcing baseball, Vin Scully.
Yeah, if you mentioned Mount Rushmore's of announcing, he's definitely the baseball category for sure.
Clearly,
I think you could easily make a big 4 of announcers. It would probably just go like Vince Scully, Jim Nantz. Jim Nantz, he covers 2 sports. I just couldn't think of anyone else. Yeah. Basketball is whoever's doing it now, I would say. And then who does the bang thing?
Who does what?
The bang?
Kenny Albert? Is it Kenny Albert?
Oh.
I don't know who it is.
Anyway, and then hockey goes up to what? Doc?
Yeah, I would say hockey's probably Doc Emmerich.
There you go. We've made the Mount Rushmore. What's your shout out?
I'm going to continue in the baseball train. My shout out is post-trade deadline Buccos baseball. They are 2-0 since the trade deadline, a 5-3 win on Tuesday night against the Milwaukee Brewers. O'Neal Cruz with a masterful, effortless 3-run home run to tie the game up at 3-3. Then, of course, on Wednesday, Yoshi Tsutsugo gets DFA'd. Tusapita Marcano gets recalled. He goes out last night. 3 for 3, RBI, scores a run, first career triple, has a game. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates, guess what? They beat the Milwaukee Brewers again. 8-7 walk-off victory with Brian Reynolds hitting a walk-off winner in the bottom of the 9th inning. Another home run, by the way, from O'Neal Cruz with an absolute laser beam, 430 feet out into the river. The young guys are getting extended looks. That's why everybody loves post-trade deadline Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. And it is here. It is the fun time of the summer if you're a Pirates fan, because you get to see the young guys get extended looks, get extended opportunities. And when I look at that lineup now, I just ask myself, why hasn't it looked like this all season? Clearly, it's more exciting. Jack Sawinski's not even up yet. I guarantee you he's going to finish the season with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I really have enjoyed watching the games the past 2 days, more so than most of the rest of the season. And it's always great when you're beating up on the Milwaukee Brewers, which doesn't happen very often if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, you're right. That definitely doesn't. This team is very interesting because not only are they? They're undefeated in the month of August.
Yeah, 2-0.
But hey, take what we can because we're coming off of a 7-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard to understand this team because it really obviously is more than just wanting to win. You want your teams to win,
Mhm.
but then you sometimes you feel bad about winning because you're the Pirates and you're trying to do certain things, right?
Uh,
Like you're trying to be bad enough to get that one last draft pick, but then you remember it's baseball and they're not going to be here for another 5 years.
Yeah, no, I don't feel bad about winning if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, you look at the system that they have, and it's time to go. Like it is time to start building that winner with the people that you have. I don't think you need any other assets like that. I think they did a really good job in the trade deadline, sending out Stratton and Quintana and bringing back, I believe that third base, first base guy is somebody that's really good. I can't think of his name right now. And the pitcher Oviedo was, he could be a starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is something they sorely need.
Yes.
Tyler Beatty did not look good last night. That they went down, I believe, 3-0 or something like that because of Tyler Beatty.
Yeah.
So 4-0. 4-0 was the score before he got yanked.
Pitching is horrible right now. Yeah, I think there are ways to rebuild it, and it's just a matter of when do we hit win now mode because apparently we're supposed to be bad again next year.
It's supposed to be bad.
It's apparently the goal is to not the goal, but like that's the projection is that they know they're not going to be good yet next year.
Mm-hmm.
But baseball is such a hard sport to follow, and it really is just the big market winners. I mean, look at the Padres for God's sakes.
Yeah, they were going to be. They could have been my shout out this week. That was especially. Did you watch the first inning last night of the Padres game?
No.
Well, Snell, I believe his name's Blake Snell, just absolutely wipes out the first 3 batters, like complete dominance. Yeah, complete dominance. Yeah, but he hasn't been great all season since the deadline, or not the deadline, since All-Star game. He's been better, but great first inning. So the fans are already on their feet. I believe the first batter got out, but then it was Soto. Soto walks on 4 pitches. Clearly, Chad Kuhl did not want to throw him a strike. So Soto walks. Machado hits an absolute laser beam double. Josh Bell comes up. He walks. And then grand slam. Or no, was it a grand slam? I think there was another walk and then a grand slam or something like that. But they were up 5-0 after 6 batters. And San Diego, just the crowd reaction, everybody was on their feet the entirety of that first inning. I miss that for the Pirates. I do. It's been since, 2015? I would say 2017. I think they had the first half of the season. They had a team that was doing pretty good before they fell apart. But, miss that type of baseball for the team that I like to root for.
It's so depressing talking about baseball.
It is. But, we do it anyway because we're Pirates fans, which means we're basically, like to make ourselves sad about baseball.
I hate this. I want our team to be good, but I don't know. I don't even want to get into it. It's for a different podcast.
We're talking a lot about the Pittsburgh Pirates, talking a lot about baseball. Let's move over to call-outs where I take it outside the realm of baseball. I'm calling out bumper stickers on people's cars because honestly, sometimes it gets to be a little ridiculous. Specifically, the ones that I think irritate me the most are baby on board and please be patient. This is a new driver. Is that supposed to make me less likely to drive you off the road? Like, I'm not gonna wreck into your car in the first place. What does the bumper sticker do? Like, why is it there? It's just annoying, and especially, it's worse when they have that sticker, and they are worse drivers. Like the new driver, okay, makes sense. You're a new driver, but sometimes it's just like, okay, you have a baby on board. Why are you stopping so freaking hard? Like slamming on the brakes. It's like your baby's going to have shaken baby syndrome because of the way that you drive. So worry less about your bumper sticker, more about actually driving and being a decent driver on the road. I don't know why. Like, I'm not Mario Andretti. I know I'm not the greatest driver. But like, if you're a bad driver with a bumper sticker that's like, be a good driver, then maybe you should just stop. Not worry about the stupid little 15-cent sticker on the back of your car and focus a little bit more on driving. I don't know why.
I'm going to let you have that one. That was interesting.
It made me very irritated the other day. I don't know why, because I saw like I think it was specifically somebody with a, hey, there's a baby on board, stay back, or something like that. And then they were slamming on their brakes. They were driving like awful driver. And I had to follow them for like 2 miles. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be a call out this week.
Oh man, I'm gonna let you have that one.
Yeah, listen, I had on my one show that I do on Sundays, we have a host that's called, his name's Guru, and his gripe of the week was people that put chicken on sandwiches. He's like, why do we have to have chicken sandwiches? And I was like, chicken sandwiches are phenomenal. Like I fought back on that one.
Because it's a meat on bread. You can't go wrong there.
He said chicken doesn't need to be put on bread.
Yes, it does.
He said you're ruining the chicken by putting it on bread. And I vehemently disagreed with that statement, especially I'm like, spicy chicken sandwiches are sometimes my favorite and my go-to.
Has he ever enjoyed a buffalo chicken sub? Is that the same thing? Is that different?
No, he doesn't like it. He said a chicken wrap is great. It's fine.
Also correct, but
he said if you put it between two pieces of bread, you're just being lazy, and you're I think he said ruining the chicken.
But putting it in a wrap isn't lazy? It's the same thing.
I guess because you have to wrap the wrap versus just splat. I don't know. Listen, it's
Taco
not
shell it. It's just oh my goodness.
That's not my opinion, man. It's not. I agree with you. I don't understand what this guy has against chicken sandwiches, but he just said that it's wrong and it's what you shouldn't do as a society. And I said you're wrong. So I just figured, I don't know. I didn't understand it, man.
I'm just picturing this guy driving past Chick-fil-A.
Any fast food restaurant now?
Once he's done yelling at the man in front of him for a bumper sticker, he's looking at the Chick-fil-A line and yelling at the Chick-fil-A line because chicken doesn't go on bread.
Yeah. I don't. Chick-fil-A, Arby's has it. I mean, when everybody has a chicken sandwich now because they sell, because everybody likes them, because they're good, and because it's right. But I don't know. I don't know how we got into that. I mean, I don't know why I brought that up. But what is your call out to close out this show? It's kind of been this is clearly an early August episode of the Tip of the Ice-Burgh.
Somehow my call out is not going to be that man for his wrong take on chicken sandwiches. Maybe I'll come back to that next week. But there's more drama at the Live Tour.
Oh, my Lord.
So the former PGA players are suing the PGA because of their status with the league. Hey, you know what? You knew what was coming. You took your money and ran, and I applauded you for it because, yes, good for you. Especially the ones that had nothing else to prove, like Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson. They've done their thing. They've won their majors, and now they're gonna cash out nicely. Why are you suing them now? Do you want back in? Is the live not working out? What's going on here?
I don't know.
Somehow, we knew there was going to be drama. But that's just because the PGA incited the drama of, all right, you're going to go play in a different league. You're shunned from the PGA. Had they not done that and just had a clean break and just you go play over there. And whenever it obviously doesn't work out, you'll come crawling back and we'll look like the bigger person. Again, like I said, I think then the players are just cashing out. That's fine. The PGA is making it about themselves and doing it wrong. And now they're getting sued by their own players, not their own players, by their former players. Mm-hmm. It's weird to follow, but this wouldn't have happened had the PGA just been classy about another league joining their system. I don't even know. Mm-hmm. It's like you have competition, get over it. Mm-hmm. But now they're in this lawsuit. I mean, I don't know who's going to win or lose. I don't care. It's just there's more drama in golf, and it didn't have to come to this, guys. Both sides did not have to.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I don't care about the verdict on that lawsuit. I really don't care who comes out. I don't care who gets paid out of that. What I said a couple months ago, and I will stand firm on this belief. The PGA should have just embraced it, should have used it, and should have used the steam and the heat from the Live Tour to help market their own tour. So and they didn't. And literally you see why it was working so well in the majors where Live players were playing against PGA players. I mean, the eyeballs that were on the majors this year for that alone were ridiculous. So the fact that the PGA couldn't see that and say, hey, this is a great marketing opportunity that might make our sport as a whole better for us and for the Live Tour, that's just on the PGA because, as somebody has told me in the past, golf is sometimes an elitist sport and the PGA is the biggest component of that.
Yeah. They fumbled the bag. And speaking of fumbling the bag, not that he needs the more money. Did you see how much they actually offered
For
Tiger
Tiger,
Woods?
what is it, $800 million?
We knew when the whole big first thing happened that he had turned down. The quote was then high 9 figures.
Mm-hmm.
We just now got the number from Greg Norman, and he said $700 to $800 million. Tiger, listen, I know you don't have the same game anymore. You could have retired so nicely on that. Not that he wants to retire, though.
Well, you act like Tiger Woods cares.
Right. No, genuinely he doesn't. But
it's not like he needs any more money, because basically everything that's golf apparel Nike gets paid to him. He has the Tiger Woods brand. Yeah, I'm sure Nike pays him handsomely, and he already has the same schedule. He's going to come out, play 3 or 4 tournaments a year.
They're all going to be majors.
And then maybe what's the one that he always like, the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Got to play that.
And then he's going to just fade back and sit back and say, all right, well, I'm going to enjoy my billions of dollars at this point.
Yeah. No, I know. It's no big deal. No big thing. I just figured, hey, you know what? The rich stay rich somehow. Could have been richer.
Let me tell you what, the position that I'm in right now, $800 million, I wouldn't think about it. I'd be like, how many places do you need me to sign, and how quickly can I sign this?
Wow, $800 million, I could buy a whole new knee.
Honestly, yeah. He could pay for a driver for his great-grandchildren's entire life, let alone his entire life. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Tip of the Iceberg. Clearly, it is the middle of August.
Welcome
where there's
to August.
Not very much hockey stuff to talk about. We hope we helped scratch that hockey itch with our 90s snake draft of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Tip of the Iceberg podcast. We'll be back next week with a new episode. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, Penguins fans.